All right, guys, welcome to the Hardpillnetwork podcast. I'm your host, Armstrong Sire. This is a podcast where we seek the truth and will help men get better in their relationship, finances, and fitness. Quick announcement, this channel has not been monetized, so if you want to support the show, you can do that by donating through our PayPal. The link is in the description below. Every donation you make will be used to give you all a better quality show, get better mics, cameras, and all of that. Follow Hardpill Network on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, share it to your friends and family. And we'll be needing the chat mod for our future shows. So if you want to help out, you can DM us on Instagram at Hardpill Network. And yeah, I think that's all. Welcome to the show, Luke. How are you doing this evening?
Doing great, thank you.
You're welcome. So, can you introduce yourself to the people real quick for those that may not know who you are?
Absolutely. My name is Luke Hastings at NarrowWayMan on Instagram. I am a men's coach who helps men from all walks of life get better in their relationships, their spirituality, their lives as a whole, just by working on motivation, mindset, and identity work, kind of making those shifts in how they believe to produce better results in their life for the long term.
Awesome. So, can you also tell the people about your origin and your background and how you started?
Absolutely, yeah. So I was always interested in manhood and masculinity from a young age. So I'm 30 years old now. Ever since the age of 15, I've been interested in what does it mean to be a man and how do you know when you're a man? What defines a good man? Those kind of questions. So in that journey, in that pursuit, I have become what I am today. There's been a lot of bumps along the way that have helped me and grown me. I had a marriage that lasted for 6 years. It ended in divorce, and that was very sad. There was a lot of pain through that, and I learned a lot of lessons through that. So that's been very helpful from the perspective of dating and relationships. And then other than that, man, doing a lot of inner work and research and realizing that a lot of guys have struggled with similar things to me. So I felt led to be a help and help other guys.
Based. So, what were the lessons you learned during your marriage and through divorce?
Man, a lot of lessons. I think I'll try to summarize with a few big ones. So, one big one that was powerful for me was my identity as a man and my value as a man is not reflected in other people. It's just in myself. The I think the way I grew up, I always kind of thought that a man was not successful unless he had a good marriage.
Mm,
The problem with that idea is marriage takes two. And whenever a man tries to put his self-worth into his marriage or into his relationship or into his dating, whenever he tries to put his self-worth into those things, he ends up becoming very insecure because
mm,
the outcome of the relationship or the marriage will dictate his self-worth. Whenever that's the case, he starts trying to control it. So he'll start trying to control behaviors, micromanage, manipulate. He'll do the nice guy supplication on the other hand, where he'll, try to please her so she can be happy, so things can go well. And in the process, what he does is he loses his own identity and manhood, and
mm.
he relinquishes his own strength and power in trying to make her happy. So that's a big lesson. Your identity and self-worth is not in the marriage. If you start thinking it's in the marriage, you're going to hurt your marriage.
Mm. Amazing. So, what advice do you have for guys that think they need a woman's validation?
So yeah, no, that's huge. That's validation is one of the primary manipulation points that happen with men. So we all know it is very nice to get validation from a woman. That's a good feeling. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody doesn't like that. So getting validation from anyone is nice, but from a beautiful woman, even nicer, right? So that's okay. It's okay for that to be a good thing. It's okay to feel good about that. What's not okay is to need it. When you start needing it, then you start becoming dependent on, again, dependent on something that you cannot control. I learned that lesson the hard way because there were days in my marriage where I did my very, very best. I loved the best I could. I led the best I could. I gave as much as myself as I could. And I still didn't get validation in return. I still didn't get respect in return. And I kind of got to the point where I realized, well, wait a minute. That's because it's not about me. It's about her. She has to provide that. That's her decision to provide that. So even if I'm perfect, she still has to decide to give that to me. Right. And once I realized that, I stopped chasing it. When you can learn to not need validation or approval, then you will start to get a lot more of it. Right. Because you'll start to be able to be yourself. You'll start to be able to do things that you want to do. The way I address it is a very Christian and biblical way. A lot of guys will look to their money or their muscles or their status and say, I don't need a woman's validation because I can find my validation from those things. You know, build up your finances, build up your muscles, build up your education, your career, all these things. And that way you can have confidence and you can not need a woman to validate you, right? That can work. That can actually work. The problem is it can also not work. It can also be taken away from you. So my approach is all about finding your validation in what God says about you and no one else.
Amazing, amazing. So, what are the things men do wrong that kills, their relationship with women?
What are the things that hurt the relationship?
That men do wrong that hurts, yeah, or that kills the relationship, yeah.
Good question. Women can tolerate a lot of things. They can tolerate, how do I say this? They can tolerate anger. They can tolerate pride. They can tolerate vulgarity. They can tolerate narcissism. They can tolerate a jerk, honestly. Women can tolerate jerks. And a lot of
Yeah.
times women like jerks. Okay. Why is that? It's because they're powerful.
Mm.
Women won't tell you this, but they love power. Okay. They love a man who can be himself and is not ashamed of it and just rolls with the punches. Okay. The main thing that men do that kills the relationship is they give their power away.
Yeah.
So what women are actually very tough emotionally and they can tolerate a lot of crap from us, quite frankly. But what they cannot tolerate is being bored.
Mm.
So if a man loses that inner lion, that inner beast, if he loses his power, she's becoming bored and she's probably going to leave him, or she's just going to stay with him out of obligation or settle for him, basically. But that's the thing that men do. The reason why they do it is because sometimes when we flex our power, we can hurt people.
Mm.
Sometimes, like, because we're not perfect, right? Like, sometimes when I step into my power and I do assertive, dominant things, it hurts people, right? Sometimes we will hurt our women as we do this. It's just, it happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes we will hurt our women in relationship. When that happens, she's going to become, upset, rightfully so. She's going to become hurt and angry. and she might lash back out at us. What happens over time is we see her reaction, which is often much larger than our reaction would be, right? Usually the
Yes.
feminine is going to react much bigger than the masculine, okay? So we see her reaction and we think, oh my gosh, what have I done? I can never do that again.
Mm.
And so we never step into power that way again. And then it happens with something else. And we say, oh, I can't ever do that again. So we never step into power in that way anymore either. And then before you know it, we've stopped stepping into power in so many different ways. So we're not pissing her off anymore. We're not hurting her anymore, but we're making her bored. And we've lost our ability to be strong and be the man that she was initially attracted to.
So you're saying women, the thing that men does that kills the relationship is, giving away their power to women, right? Wow. Yeah. All right. So, girls like bad boys,
Yep.
and the nice guys don't get girls. So how can, nice guys get girls without, being dickheads?
Great question. So I'm actually about to publish a training on my YouTube that answers that very question. And that's just NarrowWayMan on YouTube. But I'll summarize it here for you guys. You basically have, we talked about power, right? So the nice guy does not have power. The bad boy does have power.
Yeah.
That's one of the main differences. The other difference is the nice guy, excuse me, he tries to care
Sorry.
about others.
Mm.
The nice guy tries to care about others, but the bad boy only cares about himself,
Mm.
right? The difference between the nice guy and the bad boy is very small. Usually, the only real difference between the nice guy and the bad boy is that the bad boy knows what he wants, whereas the nice guy is too afraid to admit it to himself.
Mm.
The nice guy feels all the same feelings that the bad boy does. He's got that dog in him, just like the bad boy does. But he suppresses it because he says, oh, nope, that's bad. I can't do that. That's wrong. That's going to hurt somebody. That's not politically correct. So he suppresses those bad boy things, right?
Mhm.
The only difference is the bad boy doesn't suppress them. He just lets those things rule him. So instead of suppressing his desire to go talk to a girl or to hook up or whatever it is, he just lets those things come up and he lets those things rule him and he acts with decisive confidence on those things. And that's why the girls like him. And they don't like the nice guy because he's not really confident in anything. He's just kind of this pushover. He doesn't do anything wrong, but he doesn't do anything. I mean, he doesn't do anything good either. He just kind of like, what's there to like? There's not
Just
much there. So he's a perfect friend zone guy, right? The nice guy is the guy that the girls go talk to about their boy problems. You know, she's sleeping with the bad boy, and then she talks to the nice guy about how mean the bad boy is. Because at least the nice guy can give her that emotional intimacy. Your question, though, was how does the nice guy start getting girls and start becoming attractive without becoming the bad boy? And the answer that I give my clients is you have to learn how to step into power and trust God that he will not let you become the person that you fear. A lot of guys don't step into power because they're afraid of becoming the bad boy. Maybe their father was a bad boy. Like the thing about bad boys is they clean up at the bar. They do great with one night stands. They do great with like short-term dating relationships, but they can't hold it down. They can't lock down a
True.
good marriage. They can't lock down a good long-term relationship. So what happens if you have a bad boy father means he's probably not around. He's probably alcoholic. He's probably on his second or third marriage. He's probably got different baby mamas. Okay. And you grow up and you say, I am never going to be him. Right. So and a lot of us are in that spot. Like a lot of us didn't have good dads And so we swear up and down, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to be a nice guy. I'm going to be a good guy. And so we give our power away because we're so afraid that if we touch that power, we're going to become that bad boy, right? And in my coaching, I also call him the villain, the bad guy, the bad boy. The difference, the thing that we need though, is to understand that we can step into our power even though it doesn't look perfect. We are still going to hurt people. We are still going to hurt ourselves, and we all are still going to fail. But I tell my clients, you have to be able to trust God, walk with God, and trust that He is not going to let you become the villain. Trust Him to let you become the hero, right? To overcome the darkness, you have to touch it. And nice guys don't want to touch it. You have to have the bravery to embrace that power and the darkness that comes with it and trust God to not let you become the villain. So what does that look like? It means standing your ground. It means speaking your mind. It means getting in touch with your body, going to the gym and lifting heavy, heavy weights or doing some combat sports, really pushing it on a run, like going into a savage do or die kind of place. You have to unlock that thing that you've been suppressing, right? You have to let him come out. Do it in a safe way where you're not going to hurt somebody else, but do it in such a way where it triggers something in you that's been sleeping for a long time.
Thanks. So for guys that are being put in the friend zone, what do you think they're doing wrong, and how can they come out of it?
I would say, the friend zone guys, sometimes the friend zone is, in my opinion, it's not a bad place to be. Unless you don't want to be there. I would say it depends on what your intentions are. Like, I don't mind being in the friend zone personally, because that's where you can actually get to know somebody without there being any sexual tension, right? So if I'm in the friend zone
Yeah.
with a girl and she's showing me her real self, that's good. I want to see her real self personally. I mean, my audience, I'm not a pickup artist. I'm not a guy who teaches guys how to have one night stands or whatever, or bring a girl home every night. That's not my vibe. So I'm geared more toward like long-term relationships. And in those cases, the friend zone is not a terrible place to be because you can learn a lot. If you want to get out of the friend zone, and this applies to anybody, one night stands, long-term relationship, whatever it is. If you want to get out of the friend zone, make your intentions clear. That takes a little bit of balls,
Nice.
but you just make your intentions clear and be like, hey, listen, hey, listen, I'm into you. I want you to know that I'm into you. And if you like me back, great. If not, just let me know. But that's what it is, right? Something along those lines. Just make it very clear, right? It takes some balls. That's all it takes. And again, what is that? It's stepping into power. It's taking a big risk, right?
Yeah. So what are the wrong beliefs men hold on to? Kills them.
The wrong beliefs.
Yeah.
In what context? Like wrong beliefs about what?
About dating, concerning dating, what are the wrong beliefs they hold on to, or concerning relationship with women?
Sure. Yep. I got you. Biggest one, bro, is that good women are hard to find. That's the biggest lie out there, bro. Good women are much easier to find than good men. And I know some of your listeners may not like to hear that, but you really need to hear that. The type of women that you see in your life are the type of women that you attract.
Exactly.
It's not that there's not good women out there. It's that you're not a good man, so you're not finding them. And I've seen this play out in my own life. I've seen it play out where if I'm dealing with dysfunction, I'm 30, so I've been around a little longer than some of the guys in the space, but in my early 20s, late teens, I definitely brought in the type of woman that was a reflection of me, right? As I look at the guys that are complaining, I see men that are not worthy of a good woman, right? So and it takes faith, because I will say it's not like they're everywhere. It's not like they all congregate in the same places. They're not easy to find, but I will tell you, there's plenty of them out there. That's
Exactly.
probably the biggest. And here's the thing: once you believe that, you'll start seeing them more. Like if you believe, oh, good women are impossible to find, you're going to have a lot of trouble. If you believe there's a lot of good women out there,
That's
you're going to
right.
start seeing a lot of good women. So come over to the good side. Stop complaining. There's
Exactly.
plenty of good women. You just have to be brave enough to believe it. The reason you believe that there's no good women out there is because that keeps you from becoming a better man. If I believe there's no good women out there, then I can relax and blame women for my lack of relationship success instead of blaming myself. But if I believe that there's a lot of good women out there, now I have to blame myself for my lack of success. Now I have to get better.
Exactly.
So most guys would rather blame a lack of good women so that they don't have to look their own flaws in the eye and make a good change.
That's all right. Most people don't want to take responsibility for themselves. So
Right.
that's right. Now, so when is the right time for guys to hit the dating market? Because most guys they're like, well, I have to get my money on point. I have to do this. I have to do that before they start approaching women. So when is the right time?
Yep. Again, I'm going to speak more toward the long-term relationship guys looking for kind of a life partner, long-term partner. For
Mm-hmm.
those guys, I would say as soon as you are financially ready to support a family within a year. So you don't have to be rolling in money, but wherever you live, whatever kind of whatever finances you need to be able to support a family, have a plan to have those in line within a year's time before you start dating. Right. So if you're like 2, 3, 4, 5 years away from finding those finances and having that money, then don't bother with dating. You need to focus on yourself. What guys don't understand is when you bring a woman into your life, she takes up quite a bit of time. And it's a good thing. It's a good trade, but you need to be using the time you have now to build yourself up. So get to a spot financially where you can support a family, or get that where you're within firing distance within a year, and then start dating. Other than that, continue to level yourself up as you go. You will never be ready, in a sense. Like in some senses, I feel ready. In some senses, I don't. You have to trust that God will bring you what you're ready for when you're ready for it.
So for guys that really want to settle down, how can they find the girl of their dreams?
Wow. That's, man, the tough one about that is it's going to look a little different for everybody. I've heard guys that have done well on dating apps. They do online dating apps and they find really good women there and they get married and have kids and have a great life, right? That's not going to work for everybody.
Sure.
So I would say put yourself out there, try different things, see what works for you. Think about, where would my dream girl be? Where would my dream relationship be? Is she going to be on Tinder? I don't know. Is she going to be on Bumble? I don't know. Is she going to be on Hinge? I don't know. Maybe. That's a question you have to answer for yourself. Is she going to be at a bar? Is she going to be at the club? Probably not. Maybe every now and then, but probably only very rarely would she be there, right? So, like, where are you going? Are you going to the clubs every night, or are you hanging out at a coffee shop? Or are you at the gym? Or are you at a bookstore? Right? Where, like, the type of woman that you want, where is she going to be? It's kind of like hunting, man. You got to go where they are, right? You got to run into them. Also, work on your male friend group. Okay. You need a network, a tight knit community of like minded men. Okay. This is going to help you with women a lot more than you think, right? If you're just solo lone wolfing it, that's been very like popularized and people think that's really cool to be a lone wolf. It's not. Men need to have a gang, men need to have a posse, a brotherhood. There are seasons where you're going to be alone and you have to embrace that, but you want to be trying to get out of that season ASAP. When you bring high quality men into your life in the form of good peers and good mentors, the women will come with that. You will be exposed to more good women that way.
Nice. So how can guys set boundaries without being seen as toxic? Because these days, once you start setting boundaries, they start seeing you as a misogynist and all those stuff, all those buzzwords. So how can guys set boundaries without being seen as a toxic misogynist?
Perfect. Two thoughts on that. Number one is he might be seen as misogynist. Like, no matter what you do, if you set boundaries as a man, there's a risk that you might be seen as a misogynist. Okay. Some people think I'm a misogynist as well. I don't care. I don't care. Like you have to be willing to risk that. Okay. However, the reason why people think I'm a misogynist for setting boundaries is because they associate setting boundaries with the bad boys. Whenever the bad boys, the villains, whenever those guys set boundaries, it's because they're being selfish, right? It's because they're self-seeking, and that's given it a bad rap. So the trick to setting healthy boundaries is to set boundaries that are wholesome and healthy and positive, and they are meant to protect and provide and give, as opposed to boundaries that are from a place of insecurity, right? A popular topic on this is this idea of modesty. So some guys will tell their girl, "Hey, you can't wear that," right?
Yeah.
Women are very smart. They're very intuitive, and they can often sense if you are insecure. So if I tell my girl, "Hey, don't wear that," and it's because I know what men are thinking and I don't want her to be an object of lust to men, she can probably sense that, and she may not like it, but she can at least sense that I'm not being insecure. Now, if I say, "Hey, babe, don't wear that," but it's because I'm insecure that she's going to get attention, and I don't want her to get attention, and I'm scared of her getting attention because I'm insecure about myself, that's a bad boundary because it comes from a place of insecurity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense. So, what are your opinion on red pill message?
I don't even know what the red pill message is even anymore, man. What I've seen is I've seen a lot of guys, I think is literally about 6 months ago, there were so many more guys that were aligning with red pill. But about 6 months ago, red pill started getting crapped on and people stopped talking about it as much. And I've seen accounts that were full on red pill completely flip and start bashing it, which is really funny. So I'm not really sure what red pill is anymore. To me, red pill is basically the manosphere's knee-jerk reaction to feminism. It's like feminism went too far. Feminism, I want women to be empowered. I want women to have rights. I'm a fan of that. But when women try to become men, we have an issue and it hurts everybody. So that's what's ended up happening in my culture in the West. And I think the knee-jerk reaction to that is red pill, which is a bunch of men that have been hurt by that. They've experienced a bunch of negativity in relationships with women, and their way to cope with that hurt and that pain is to become abusive narcissists. Maybe they're not physically abusive, but they're emotionally abusive, and they're not these caring, loving guys. They're the bad boys, right? Like the ideal red pill guy is kind of a bad boy, but that is such a temporary pleasure-seeking mindset, and I'm not a fan of that. So there might be some that would tell me red pill is not that, but I don't know. That's what I've perceived it to be.
Like for example, they say women should not sleep around, but they can sleep. You cannot say women should be chased why you're degenerates, stuff like that.
Right. Right. Yep. Those are the type of guys who say that you can't find good women anymore whenever they're the type of guys that are not good men.
So what are the things men do that emasculates them?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
What are the things men do that emasculates them, that makes them weak? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or come off as weak men? Yeah.
Yep. The number one thing that men do that emasculates them is they give their power away to something. Some men give their power away to women because they want to get sexual intimacy, they want to get validation, they want to get companionship. And again, sometimes that power can frustrate people. Sometimes that power can be labeled as toxic, or it can cause pain. And so just to play it safe, a lot of guys will give away that power, and in doing so, they emasculate themselves. They also will give it away to vices like pornography, alcohol, drug abuse, and they entangle themselves with these vices. It's essentially just drinking poison, and that poison numbs their power, and it emasculates them in that sense as well. I'll give you one more, actually. A really common one that men do to give away their masculinity is they play video games. And that's very unpopular to say because young guys really like video games. I do as well. But the problem is whenever you play video games, you are teaching your subconscious mind that you can conquer things, you can achieve things, and you can get rewarded all without risking anything. So like when I'm playing a video game, my brain is thinking that I'm winning. My brain is getting excitement. My brain is thinking, oh, we're crushing it in life, right? But I'm not. It's all fake. There are some guys out there that make it a profession, right? And they make millions of dollars doing it. But the reason why they're successful is because there's so many more that are watching them and getting sucked into that matrix, if you will. Anything invented in the past 150 years, we need to be very careful with.
Yeah. Okay. What are your advice for guys that are struggling with confidence?
Struggling with confidence. I think we all struggle with confidence at times. And it's no fun. Confidence is a feeling. Feelings come and go. Right? There's going to be days where you feel confident and days where you don't. Even the highest performers, Olympic level athletes, successful businessmen, there are times where you do not feel confident because confidence is a feeling. Okay? Understand that. Understand that just because you don't feel confident doesn't mean you're less of a man. And it doesn't mean that you need to take action. or that you don't need to take action. All it means is that you have a bad feeling or a lack of a good feeling. Don't let a lack of confidence stop you. Anytime you feel a lack of confidence, that is a moment where you can grow. Anytime you see a beautiful woman and you want to approach her and talk to her, if you don't feel a little bit of a heart pound, if you don't feel a little bit of fear, she's probably not beautiful enough. She's probably not the type that you really want. Anything that you do that's going to cause you to grow is going to question and challenge your confidence, right? There's some guys that have delusional confidence, right? Like their fear doesn't work right. Like they're just confident about everything. You don't want to be like that. That's not realistic. Like if you show me, a gap in between two buildings that's 60 feet and you tell me to jump across it, I'm not going to be confident that I should jump. And that's good. That's good. Yeah. That's going to keep me safe, right? So you don't want to lose your sense of reason, but do understand that confidence is just a feeling. Fear is just a feeling, right? And if you're feeling those things, you have an opportunity to grow. It's a good thing.
Right. So what do you think is the biggest problem of modern dating?
Modern dating, man, I think the biggest problem is we're not doing it the way it was intended by God. I think the way God intended it was that sexual intimacy should be saved for a committed marriage.
Sure.
And I think when you break that rule, you end up with a lot of negative consequences. You end up with a lot of unwanted pregnancies, STDs. You end up with pair bonding and psychological bonds between men and women that are formed that can really make breakups very painful and can really scar you for a long time. And yeah, I would say that's the biggest problem is people are dating to pursue their own pleasure and to use other people's bodies to masturbate with. And they're not pursuing dating in an attempt to find a life partner and create a lasting legacy. The Western cultures specifically, like Europe and the US, Canada, a lot of those cultures have lost a sense of legacy and multi-generational purpose. Whenever you lose that, family doesn't matter as much. Whereas some more Muslim countries or like Japan, China, definitely like Middle Eastern, some African countries as well, there's still this idea of like legacy and tradition. And I'm going to continue my bloodline and I'm going to seek honor. And those cultures probably have a more healthy approach to those things.
Okay. So, 50% of marriages end in divorce. Why do you think marriages are failing these days?
Well, it's the same reason that modern dating is broken. It's because we're not doing it God's way. We're coming into marriage as like, oh, we've been sleeping together for 3 years now. We might as well get married. It's that kind of a thing.
Right.
And it's not really it's not founded on biblical principles. It's founded on, oh, you make me feel good. You make me feel good. You have something that makes me feel better about my dysfunction. And then when you seal the deal with marriage, things start to fall apart, right? People are better behaved before they're married than after. It's just how it works. And when you don't honor that vow that you made, that commitment, and when you did it for selfish reasons, or you did it just for show, just because it was the thing you're supposed to do, and you're not tied to your legacy and purpose and beliefs with it, it's not worth keeping. And so people don't keep it.
So, last question. What are the harsh truths men must accept?
Like the harsh questions that they need to ask themselves, or truths,
Yeah, truths, yeah.
hard truths. Well, that would make sense. It's a hard pill network. Here we go. So the hard truths, man. All right, here's one. You're not special.
Mm.
A lot of guys like to think that they're special. Oh, I would do this, but you don't understand. I'm really busy. Oh, I would do this and that, but you don't understand. I have a lot of trauma in my past. Oh, I would start doing that, but it's like, no, you're not special, bro. You're not special. You need to figure out the real reason that you're not changing the way you want to change, and stop blaming all these things that make you special. You're not as special as you think. And if you're pissed off hearing me say that, I'm talking to you. That's probably the hardest truth. The second hardest truth, it may be harder than the first one, is that you are not what you do. A lot of men like to think that they are what they do. Like, a man is what he does. A man is born with no value. He has to earn his value, all these things. That's not true. You are who God says you are. You are who God says you are, and that is all. The reason why that's a hard pill to swallow is because it takes a lot of humility to say that God determines my self-worth and self-value and not me. And most guys will never do that. They will continually seek to validate themselves and validate their identities through career, money, muscles, women. And then as they get older, they might switch to philosophy once they realize that they don't have the same muscles they used to. Or they might switch to philanthropy once they realize that the money is not helping them. You know, but all that really is trying to find your identity in something else other than what God says. So the sooner you can realize that your identity and self-worth is about what God says about you, the better. But it's a hard one to swallow.
Can you hear me? Okay. This has really been an awesome conversation, man. So what are your last thoughts, and where can the people find you?
Last thoughts, man. I appreciate you having me on
Are you
here,
there?
Armstrong. It's been good. People can find me on Instagram at NarrowWayMan. I'll have my website fired up later, but I got my domain for that. But right now it's Instagram, NarrowWayMan. Posting daily stuff for you guys. Happy to have you along.
All right, guys. So go check out Luke on Instagram and NarrowWayman, right? Yeah. The
Yes,
link
sir.
to his Instagram is in the description. So if you can't find him, just click on the link. It's related to Instagram, and it's doing a lot. So guys, I don't know. I'll be taking a break from doing this podcasting. I want to focus on something. I'll be back. I think by in the next 2 weeks or so, I'll be back. So till then, peace. Luke, take care.
Thank you.